I want to thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure to see all of you. And to let you know that I'm an office specialist, even though in our market you really have to be more of a generalist than a specialist. In the larger markets, you could specialize in one particular building for your whole career in 1 year. I'm also a lobbyist for a member of Congress. I'm a federal political coordinator. So 4 or 5 times a year, and when our congressperson is in district, we visit with them about private property rights. I was just in Washington last month visiting with Congresswoman Bustos, and we'll be going there again next month to talk about private property rights. One of the things that John mentioned were the 1031 tax exchanges, and Congress is trying to do away with those, so we're doing our best to keep those intact. I'd also like to thank members of the office committee who helped me with this presentation, that being Meg Halligan and Rod Christie, so thank you very much. The office market has really come into a number of different items in the last year. The millennials, those who were born in the 80s and now really fully entrenched into the 2000s, are in the workforce. And they are a different breed than what we were as the baby boomers coming in. We are becoming, because of them and because of their technology, becoming more of a paperless society, more so than in the 20th century. Therefore, less space is needed even 3 to 5 years ago. Each and every year, more business is using the cloud to store many megabytes and gigabytes of data outside of their office space. Different examples that you can see on the screen that are doing this is John Deere World Headquarters, the Quad City Chamber of Commerce, both in Illinois and Iowa, are going to more shared space and using more conference rooms for hard walls. Recent activity, as far as the millennials are concerned in the new business mode, is that the term hoteling is a term that has been used for some time, especially in the major metropolitan markets. It doesn't mean going to the Hilton Garden Inn, it means sharing space in an office or cube with many other office workers. In some cases, it actually means you, David Levin, use the office for about 3 hours, and then the maintenance people literally move out the credenza, chairs, and desk, even down to the pictures of the wife and kids, and move into a next set of those same items for Mike Smith, who comes in for the next set of office. What this means is that the term right-sizing and downsizing is becoming reality. Therefore, we are seeing both in the suburban or in the central business district, the CBD, where we used to find larger office suites, now the normal is becoming 5,000 square foot or less. A few good examples of those are shown in the pictures, meaning the new RIA Credit Union on Utica Ridge. We've got Centric Credit Unions in Davenport, as well as the new one that's being built on Brady and Locust, as well as the new Riverwatch Place development that will be taking the place of the Howard Johnsons, the former Clayton House. The millennial is literally living out of a backpack or out of their car, so office space is changing. Office trends. We're seeing many things that are different in the office market, and the differences are Illinois and Iowa. As far as Iowa is concerned, office activity is up. In Illinois, it is down. Why? Because of the economic influences at the state level, and there's more open area to build office space in Iowa. As far as rent concessions, they're down in Iowa and slightly up in Illinois. Office inventory is down in Iowa, slightly, but yet up in Illinois. Vacancy rates are down, and we'll talk about those in a minute, in Iowa and up in Illinois. There is something called office classes in the office market, and those are all dependent on a number of different criteria, but mostly because of the age of the structure, the location, amenities, and quality of finishes. As you all have heard many times, location, 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 but it's true. And that brings on the quality tenant. If you've got a good property and it's well sited and it's exposure to the different things that these offices need, then the quality tenants are going to come into effect. In order to really signify what a class of an office is, we have to look at what amenities the office building has. Office pricing, and that differs greatly in the different classes of buildings. Let's start with Class C, which in our market is usually downtown properties, but they can be suburban. And most of the Class C properties are multi-story, elevator served, no parking, so you have to pay for parking outside. And usually they're a gross rent. The difference between gross and rent is gross includes the real estate taxes, the building insurance, as well as interior hallway cleaning, bathrooms, and those types of things. Usually the rents range from $7 a square foot for a low up to $9.50 a square foot for a high, and an average is about $8.75 a square foot. As far as vacancy is concerned, Class C is 20% in Iowa and 35% in Illinois. Moving up to Class B, they can either be suburban or downtown space, range in price from $8 a square foot net, and again, net now, we are taking those extras and giving those to the tenants to pay. They range up to $11.50 a square foot net, and the average is about $10.25 a square foot. Vacancy is pretty even in suburban or in Class B, we're 20% in Iowa and about 19% in Illinois. Class A, which is usually about 5 years of age up to about 20 years of age, has all of the good amenities that goes from $13 a square foot net up to $16.50 a square foot net, where an average is about $15.50. Here you can see a large difference in 12% for Iowa and 28% in Illinois. New construction, again, most of it's happening, all of it's happening in Iowa. We haven't had a new office building built in Illinois except for the new Kone building last year in Moline. $14 for a low net in for a low and a high of $30 a square foot net. An average net rental is approximately $16.25, and we have no figures for vacancy yet. However, I must tell you that the pass-throughs or the net charges can range anywhere from $3 a square foot up to $9 or $10 a square foot for new construction. Rental and vacancy rates in the Quad Cities office market are tracked by state, and there is a considerable amount of office vacancy in Illinois as compared to Iowa. I live in Illinois. A lot of my business is in Illinois, but many tenants will say, we don't want to be in Illinois, we'd rather be in Iowa. So we as brokers fight this battle all the time. Thankfully, with the help of our municipalities, they're helping bridge those problems, so we're continually working on those issues. Office strategies. What we're saying is that if the company's intent is to remain in the space, negotiate a 5-year term with renewal options that include defined rental rates to avoid increases. So if today's market is at $9 a square foot and the market really takes a bump and goes up to $12 a square foot, it's better to go ahead and exercise those options early rather than later. Have your broker, which we do all the time, survey the market to determine if you are paying a true market rent. I am also a tenant rep for about 8 national companies. For example, H&R Block, Edward Jones, Progressive Insurance, just to name a few. Pizza Hut's another one where they'll say, David, I need a location at the corner of Ump and Bump Street in Timbuktu, Iowa. Go find us one. And we are doing exactly that, limiting our exposure, but also looking for future growth in those same markets. If your company has available capital, consider providing your own improvements or modifications to the property in exchange for lower rental rates or a short period of free rent. If there are multiple spaces available that would be acceptable for your company, consider having your broker, which again, I do and we do all the time, prepare a request for proposal or an RFP to be submitted to all potential landlords. This will put them in more of a competitive position, and they will likely propose more attractive terms. Now for the landlord or owner. Strategies that we like to see are consider subdividing the larger office space, as I talked about earlier in my presentation, to accommodate an increased number of smaller tenants. Have your broker survey the office rental rates in your immediate area to determine how you compare in today's market with the competition. Reinvest in your property by updating exteriors, common areas, restrooms, and elevators. That can make a host of difference, when tenants first enter your building, and if they see dirty hallways and dirty restrooms and elevators that haven't been upgraded, they're going to look at other properties. And just like buying a car, they know these properties as well as we do. Approach existing tenants early for renewals in order to retain them, especially if you're looking for an exit strategy and wanting to sell your property. If you've got a 100% filled building and you're passing through expenses, the NOI, or the net operating income, is going to give you more value. If you are operating your property with a gross basis, consider converting to not a triple net, because a triple net is usually like a Walgreens lease, but a double net basis where the landlord is still responsible for structure, roof, and major mechanical replacement. But consider going to a double net basis to protect yourself from rising operating expenses, property insurance, and property taxes. Before we get into retail, I just want to give you one last item, and that's our forecast for 2015. In Illinois, rent concessions most likely will continue, and landlords and owners will continue with some free rent, as well as give some level of tenant improvements, or what we call TIs. Vacancies will continue to remain constant, and absorption will be minimal. Office condominiums are virtually non-existent in Illinois. Whereas in Iowa, absorption has been minimal, but more than Illinois, so vacancy is less on the Iowa side of the market. As space is being absorbed, landlords are and will be less aggressive on giving any rent concessions or free rents and TIs unless the tenant is going with a 5-year lease or greater. Office leasing used to be up until 2014, more abundant in numbers and transactions than any of the other applications, meaning industrial, retail. That no longer is valid now that fully leased buildings are happening. We're seeing an awful lot of investors come into our market. Office condominiums are very slow, even in the Iowa side of the market.